This is the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, a show for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs. Together, we will inform and educate you about how to improve your self-awareness while developing systems, routines, and habits for conquering the entrepreneurial world. Here is your host, Andre Brisson.
I've been thinking about this for a while now since my buddy John Workington mentioned it, or actually questioned it, when he goes to Bora Bora or goes on holidays where outside of a city, he seems to get more relaxed and calm. And that's not a typical statement made by many ADHD people, especially physically hyperactive people. I get that a lot. I like to go. That's one of the reasons why I live in the country, because it's quiet. There's no city stuff, no traffic lights. It's peaceful, and never realized it. Why until now. So I wanted to share this thought with you. So quick recap, ADHD brains. It's not that we have an attention deficit. The problem is we have too much attention. We want to pay attention to everything that comes in that's available, right? Our brain does not naturally filter out things that are not necessarily important to us at the time. We take it all in, because if you want to go back to the hunter analogy, we have to be aware of everything and allow it all to come in for us to decipher if it's a threat or not. Okay. So our brain, ADHD brain, naturally wants to take it all in. It doesn't phase things out, I think, until we make a cognitive decision to not pay attention to it. Well, everyone else seems to have a neurological filter that says, nah, not really important right now. So we don't have that freedom, but at the same time, it's necessary for our ancestors or for our brain to be taking it all in. So there's common nature. And why is that? Simply, it's because our brain takes all information in at all costs, at all times. So let's think about this. When you're walking down the street, you're in the city, in a town, going downtown, even in the offices, you got people running around, you got umpteenth million different sounds, scents, even smells. ADHD brains are sensitive to. Maybe not that you're cognitively aware of them, but that's another sensory. Any of the sensory inputs is all taken. Touch, sense, touch, taste, smell, eyes, ears, vision, and hearing. Your brain takes all that information in, even though if you're not cognitively aware it's happening, but it is, and it's processing all that. So in effect, every time we walk around an office or we're walking around cities, man, we're getting massive data entry. So it's like a massive data and information dump in our brains at every second. So what happens when all that information's coming in and we don't have time to process it, or sometimes it comes on so strong that we don't realize it's coming on strong? We get overwhelmed. So once there's too much information coming in, our brain gets overwhelmed. We don't know what to do with it. And especially during the undiagnosed days, I definitely know when I got into that overwhelm, that's when my symptoms start to act up. So when they became impairments and no longer my strengths. So with that, symptoms and attention, because now you're paying attention to everything. Everyone sees that as an attention. The hyperactivity, I get more agitated physically and I need to move and I can't sit still. My mind is racing, trying to process all that information and sort it, which our executive dysfunction really does not allow us to do that effectively. So we keep spinning our wheels mentally, right? And at the same time, our impulsivity gets up because there's too much going on. We go to here, we go to there, we go there. And that's what they call like the shiny object syndrome or squirrel. But that's us on overwhelm and running speed, like at high speed. So our unmanaged symptoms can take over, and many times, I know it has in my case. Now, I use that more as an early warning, but I'm not perfect, and I never will be, so it's more about awareness. Now, even in crises, you might argue in crises, we don't hear any of that stuff or sense that. We can just focus on that thing. Correct. Everything I explained to you before is what's when we are not in hyperfocus. Because it seems when we're in ADHD hyperfocus, the world slows down. We can just concentrate on the one thing. The world becomes quiet. All the things that are not relevant to us is quiet. to me, that's what the hyper focus is all about. Okay. It's now filtering things that we want and need at the time. Okay. So in crises, we can do that. So to a lot of people in crises, it's overwhelming, that information. It's still a lot of information we're taking, a lot more than most can take. But the thing is, the hyperfocus shuts everything else out that doesn't shut down when we're in those overwhelming sensory areas like cities and offices. Okay. But now let's just remember, when you're in crises, in a hyperfocus doing this, it's all short term. It's not a long-term thing that we can hyperfocus out all these extra data points that's overwhelming us. Okay. So overwhelm, too much information because our brain allows it all in and we can't filter it out effectively. Now let's go to nature. Let's go at somewhere where there is no city or you're outside of the city. There's less stuff going on, less noises. The scents are natural. I think maybe I should have mentioned that earlier, but the natural sense of the forest, the waves, the sound of the waves, the scent of the ocean, the lake, all that, it's natural. And while you're in nature or out somewhere away from the hustle and bustle of real life and business and cities, there's a lot less going on in nature versus what's going on in everyday life. Animals are going on their way. Vegetation's doing whatever they're doing. The wind's doing its thing. It's all slower, okay? So it's less overwhelming for our brain because there's a lot less input being put in because it's just nature. It's working efficiently and naturally. While cities, offices, that it's not natural. So all that kind of information is overwhelming because it's not natural. So it's less overwhelming. Now, the other thing too, there's a lot of research saying that being in nature with the nature sounds really calms us down. And in a way, I think it's a lot more of our style with the ADHD brain. If we want to look back again at that hunter analogy, that we're hunters, I think we just have more of a connection with nature in those sounds because I think it's just genetically brought down. That's my theory. I don't know if there's really written anywhere, but it just seems to me I'm at home while I'm in nature away from the city and the concrete made up world. Okay. So with this, just like John was saying, every time he comes back from these pure nature experiences, especially wave sounds, that's very reassuring and calming. It's very meditative. It helps resets our body, mind, and spirit because there's less input. It's less overwhelming. When we're not overwhelmed, we can actually process things and think about things because it's coming at us at the same speed that we can process it, not be a massive 200-ton or 200 terabyte dump in 5 seconds. So it helps us reset our body, mind, and spirit because there's less sensory overload and we can enjoy the time, the space, and then be at our own thoughts. But at the same time, it's very, very relaxing, calming. I think it's relaxing. I don't think we can physically relax because of the ADHD nature, but it's more calming. We're allowed to be more present and let the stress just flow out because there's less stimuli in nature. Even to the point, if you are going to a resort that's in the middle of nowhere and there's not the hustle and bustle of the everyday to day stuff, it's more laid back and you're there to rest and calm, there's less stimuli. If you're going to the pool, you're just going to the ocean or whatever, there's less stimuli. Going fishing, less stimuli. So I think that's what the big thing is for the ADHD brain in nature. There's less stimuli. It's more of a natural feel. Nature's working at its natural pace, while in cities and towns and offices, it's not working at a natural pace, or at least we haven't evolved enough to know that's what our natural pace is. Too much stimuli. ADHD brain gets massively overloaded in cities, offices, and life and day-to-day life, especially with computers. Too much coming in because our brain cannot filter stuff out for us. We have to do that ourselves cognitively. Therefore, we get a lot of overwhelm. Therefore, especially not in hyperfocus, our symptoms can take over because of that overwhelm. So that's why a lot of things I talk about and I teach with my clients is how to reduce the overwhelm and to cognitively filter out things that doesn't make sense for us to do at the time, or to physically say, no, that's not going to be a distraction or a data input at this time. I highly recommend that you try this theory with the nature. Just go out there and be you. And that includes not having your damn phone around. If you're going to have the phone for pictures, put it on flight mode so you're not receiving anything. You could just out there and be. Nature is about body, mind, and spirit. As long as you're in the nature that is its natural field and its natural habitat, we can feel that. Less stimuli, more time for our brain to process and to be present. Really helps us being present to reset before we go back to the bullshit of the overstimulated cities, offices, and real life. I'd like to know what you think about this thought, and I would love you to send me an email at andre@tacticalbtst.com or send me a note via the website. It'd be greatly appreciated at tacticalbts.com. Thanks for listening, and talk to you next time. The ADHD transformation program has launched and it's working. Clients are saying it's changed their lives and I am their ADHD hack. So go to tacticalbts.com/ATJP for more information. I want you to join and learn your own ADHD vocabulary and to learn that you're not stupid and we can make you work effectively.
Thank you for listening to the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for the show, please visit theimpulsivethinker.com. The Impulsive Thinker podcast is produced by Tactical Breakthroughs and hosted by Andre Brisson. Remember, ADHD is only a part of you, not all of you.